Okay, hey everybody, Worst Pogue here, and sorry for the interruption in the videos. Shit got busy with work and a bunch of other stuff in personal life, so don't worry about that too much. No big deal, just dealing with stuff. Everything's working out great, so whatever. So I'm going to be doing a more exciting video now, interrupting the whole pants series. I have stuff for the pants series, and I may roll into that next, just depending on how I'm feeling, because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm doing this video for you guys then. You're welcome. So also, if you notice, it's a little bit better quality for not so obvious reasons. I went to Walmart and got some like girly video TikTok bullshit, which is like a ring light camera holder thing. So 26 bucks on clearance, and I thought, hey, fuck it, I'll take it. So today is going to be a rifle walkthrough. Now that my rifle testing has gone through, I've all said and done with everything. So gonna walk you guys through everything regarding there's going to be no live ammunition in the gun. I'm not even going to hold live ammunition. There's some right here, but after I show you the magazine and talk about it, it's going to be Dunskies. So I have some PPU in here, which is a little bit better grade M855. In my opinion, I see a lot better groupings with this than I do Winchester or anybody else with the M855 stuff. Like, it seems like they got the steel core pretty well centered inside the projectile, so works great. Yeah, it's I believe it's copper plated or copper pressed lead projectiles with a steel core, is I believe how theirs is set up, and it's all centered on itself. And the steel core is pressed into the back of the bullet during like a cool down phase. It's a little different how they make it or whatever, but it's not American. But I see a lot better groupings with it. I generally can, like 100 yards, I'll see, sorry, I didn't realize it's very not sturdy. It's not the best camera mount, if you can't tell. So I'm gonna try not to shake. Holy shit, this thing's just shaking like a motherfucker. Whatever, we'll roll with it. So it's my preferred cheapo projectile. I will be moving over to a hollow point, and those can be modified into a penetrator with something as simple as a piece of stick flint, which you can buy that for cheap, and all you do is you just take a little drill bit, run it down. It's like a 1/32, run it down through there, put the flint in, chop it off, put some glue on the end of it, chop it off, and boom, you have now a very accurate, very centered, because there's already a hole at the tip of them, flint piece. So as long as you don't drill off, don't recommend doing that within it. Like if you reload, I recommend doing it that way. I have done some less than satisfactory modifications to the bullets that way, but they're not really meant to do anything that these aren't meant to do, but it's just a modification to do that to like a 75 grain without fucking anything up. And you do trim down the flint down into the bullet, but you also have to know the bullet depth. So Hornady 75 grain works great for that and still stabilizes. It's a lot better than these, in my opinion, and the flint allows for good effect on steel. It's more or less just kind of like a fun project having to do thing, but yeah, making your own projectiles at home is kind of a fun little thing, fun little experiment. It's no different than making like a little shotgun round, like trimming and making the makeshift slugs by trimming the buckshot, but I digress. So this magazine, it is a Lancer LW5AM, which is the advanced weapon mag version, so it's the Gen 3. Now the difference between Gen 2 and Gen 3, Gen 2 are not chemically resistant enough. You can put some DEET on them. I believe it was DEET. It was some sort of bug spray, and it made the magazine body soft. This no longer has that issue, but the issues that the 30 rounders have is they don't have enough spring tension on a few of them to feed reliably through all the cycling. Like I was having a lot of failure to feeds with these, but that's fixed. I initially used Tubbs flat wire springs. Those did not work. And then I moved over to Springco flat wire springs, which are less powerful, but they fit this really well, and they do work, and I don't have any failure to feeds now. They also don't take a set because there's now extra space in the magazine, so you can fit another 2 rounds-ish if you, depending on how hard you want to shove, and if you want to bottom the spring out or not, you can fit more bullets in it. But don't do that because it's engineered for the spring not to take a set, so the magazines last longer. They have steel steel lips, not feed ramps. I don't know whatever. Ignore that. Just brain fart. Steel lips on the magazine so they don't bow out like Magpul magazines do as you fill them, lift them up. Right here. So if you notice, take off this, you can see ever so slightly the feed lips are bowing out, and right here along the spine is a big failure point. So after quite a bit of testing, destructive testing, and destroying magazines, quite a bit of magazines, I found that these modified are best. Now this magazine, without discounts, without military discounts, and I bought these all at a discount, just to be clear, comes out above $30 per magazine, right? So just keep in mind, very pricey, and that's including the Magpul. This little ass end piece, which I like to use just for various reasons. Plus it acts as a impact stop for the bottom here, which slows the magazine down, though this isn't a failure point like Magpul PMags are, which is why I wanted to switch away from them, because after dropping load-in mags onto concrete, you generally see the bottom shear off. You can also like drop the rifle, like if I hit the dirt too hard with the PMag, one of my issued PMags had this little over insertion stop here, that sheared off completely just by hitting the dirt with the magazine in the gun, and all I did is essentially like the Call of Duty jump type shit, just for shits and gigs, kind of just fucking around a little bit during Mount Town in Camp Hilton. So fucked around doing that. That works great, and that just helps. These don't have as much of the issues. These also weigh less, even though they have steel parts in them, and I prefer them a lot more. I have 0 issues with these. My PMags are now trainer mags, and that's all I use them for. I do have like a home defense style one, but it's just a 40 rounder, and that's all that is. It's literally just a 40 rounder of home defense rounds. If I really have to use my 5.56, I can. But oh yeah, I forgot to even tell you. Today is talking about my rifle, if you can't already tell. So here we have my completed special purpose, general purpose, whatever rifle, all said and done. So no longer fucking with this. I've been doing this as a test bed for quite a while, and I'm finally like pretty happy with it. I don't need to test anything else out for time being, and if I do, I'm probably going to move over to my mock M4, which is a cheapy gun and already has issues. Jesus Christ, stop fucking shit up. And already has issues. So it has issues with like feeding and stuff and just being reliable, but it's still pretty decent. I can fix those, and it's intended to have issues as a training gun. But so starting from tip to ass, tip to butt, whatever, I have a Sandman for now. I took the suppressor cover off of it after roasting it quite a bit. It was a burn-proof gear. Nothing against them. I didn't like the interactions I had with them after I posted about a stubby one that I was just testing to see how quickly it like roast off. Like I was abusing it, and they were upset that I posted about abusing it, and I even admitted to abusing it. That was a big whole stick with them. So not really a fan of their social media guy, whoever that was, but that was kind of like them just being a dick about it and like going back and forth like, I'm not trying to say your product sucks, but you suck for sure. So that was a burn-proof gear. This suppressor is getting replaced with a polonium with a chemo. I'm keeping the chemo, but I am replacing the suppressor, and this is going to go on like my 300 Black Hat or some other shit, or my 308. I don't fucking know yet. But I'm replacing with the polonium full length, not the K. I like the sub-flash suppression of the full-length can on a 13.9, which this is the 13.9. I have a blackout defense A1 style device. It's not an A1. Obviously, it's fucking long. And it's kind of spiked on the end. It kind of looks like one of those like Strike Industries, like plebe muzzle devices, but I liked it because I decided on the doctrine of taking the suppressor off when I go indoors, just because one, it knocks the gun down from roughly 18 inches of barrel length per se down to 16 flat, which is like, this comes out to like 16.2, which is longer than it was before with the chemo, but no big deal. It is timed to the shoulder and pinned that way, so there's no washers, and it is timed very neutral. I throw a rod through any of the suppressors through this, and it's fucking sintered as shit. Had Grimes Gunsmithing do that in Fort Worth. Pretty cool guys. I like them. I recommend them. But they did my pin and weld jobs on this one and this one. I'm pretty happy with that. Going backwards, I have a reversed, fuck you Reddit, a reversed front sight post, which is Magpul Pros. It's reversed for just to open up this port right here, because otherwise this starts to get warm right here at this dial, and I don't really trust cooking that too much, because there is a vent right here, so I don't like that being covered. So I flipped it around. No big deal. I'd rather it not get hot in that position, and with this on, you can see the collar, which doesn't get as hot as right here, is the cooler part rather than the barrel getting hot. So it seemingly, as of right now, doesn't have any issues. Going further back, I like these, so I'm gonna turn this on. You can't see anywhere on this, even with night vision, that there is any light protruding forward of the cap. So works great. And this is a Rain 3.0 head on the Rain 1.0 body with a swivel mount from Overbore Systems, just to kind of get it closer to Surefire. No big deal. Just regular pressure pad. I don't mind it. I did go a little bit crazy with the stipple, just kind of practicing on shit, because I don't really care that much. I don't care what people think, but I did this for texturing with gloves. This will catch on my gloves or my bare fingers, so I can tell where my finger is and where everything is, rather than just relying on that little bit of rubber, which works fine. Just kind of a preference thing. So when I hold it, I still do the whole thumb forward and tension downwards like that, but all that being said and done, moving backwards. So I have a Arasaka pick QD style slider. It's a rail slider, so I'll show that in a second, but it is some sort of Atlas bipod. I don't remember which one. It's not that bad. It's a really good, I like it, and then I have slapjack mod on it, so, and it pulls out like that. When I have the rifle actually forward, I can get a pretty solid, oh shit, when it's not all twisted up like this. But it's all about prepping with this thing. It doesn't work quite as well, and I do have this reversed. Normally it's like you slap it forward or you just pull this back, but in like a swifter motion, it allows me to get the bipod out faster. And I still have the 45-degree cant, which is the main thing that I wanted. That way I can get the rifle a little bit lower, but I can still get it out fast if I need to, which is like the perk of like the Harris bipod. But in a Atlas bipod, which has the 45-degree, which is preferable, it is on a Arasaka style piece right here. So this is still a clamp on. You can still clamp it on, but it also is a rail slider. So even if I don't clamp it on, I have to loosen it up. But I didn't have it loose enough, but tighten that, get that down right there to click. Still slide it around, and I can set my tension. And there's a little detent on this knob, so it can't really go in between unless you're really tightening it down, but it allows you. And the reason I did that, and I have it back here as well, is I can use it as a barrier clamp. So I slap it on something, slide this forward, push tension, forward tension as I roll the thing. I can clamp it on even if it's not on a tooth, and it'll hold it in place pretty well. So I can actually clamp the rifle, and I have clamped it onto like a 2x4 sitting upright, and it works pretty well clamping up against this. It does have a little bit of wobble because of this, but this is stippled, and the stippling's kind of getting fucked up from doing that. But further back. Oh, the rifle's clear, by the way. I have a C.O.M.M, also stippled, but it's stippled in the direction of my hands, so it's a little bit more comfortable. It is shreddy. It will fuck up my hands. This is a Geisley rail. Is a 13.5 rail that I have chopped at the end and gotten it nice and cleaned, really clean job. And then I have it cut open right here for the rifle speed dialing, so I can switch and gas the gun however I need. I can also see the dialing setting through this hole on top, which is nice. So going back, I have rail scales. Going forward, I have rail scales on here, the G10 versions, the 4-pick, and then I think that's a 2.5 or 1.5 or whatever it is. That works great. So this is, what a piece of shit. This is a like spike in case I need to muzzle thump somebody. By the way, I don't think I mentioned that, so I can actually like fuck with somebody. This rifle isn't too bad. It comes out fairly lightweight for what it's capable of, and I'm comfortable with this thing going out to 1,000. It's not ideal. I wouldn't want to shoot anybody at 1,000. I could hit somebody, but the round's effectiveness is not good out that far. So it's just a challenge thing, a practice thing, being able to hit smaller. So, all right, let's stop saying so. I have an Arasaka rail here too, because it just fits really nice. It's got a QD right here, but I'm not going to use it. But I like how well it clamps onto the rail section right here. It works great. So without the suppressor, the gun's 13 pounds total, loaded, which is not too bad. Back to the scope, I have a, I guess, upper receiver. So I have a Sons of Liberty thermal fit upper receiver. I like it because the thermal fit seems to be a lot tighter, a lot harder to get stuff in. And on attached to that is a Triarch 13.9 regular barrel, not the recce. I may eventually go to that, but honestly, this is serving me pretty well. The only reason I would go to that is just to be able to shoot more and get the gun hotter with a suppressor on it, but I don't know. I'm also debating on going to a titanium can, the new Titanium Flow 7.62, because it's a very quiet can. So it's all up in the air with me right now. But I love the Triarch. The single edge polygonal rifling, in my opinion, is the best rifling on the market currently. The rifling bore diameter is smaller. It grips the bullet in more spots, and it turns the bullet on one edge, creating a smoother spinning bullet. So it doesn't get affected by wind adversely. It spins longer, stabilizes the round a lot better, and stabilizes the round a lot longer. Just because the bullet's smoother, it has less intrusive, doesn't have square grooves in it. It has a triangular groove that's aerodynamic with the spin of the bullet. You can look on their website and look how that goes. It's similar to Glock performance rifling, but that one is dual edge polygonal rifling, but a whole different stick. Polygonal used to be the shit, but they didn't add edges to it, so it was just square, and that's why it sucked. Now they have edges, and they can shrink the bore diameter, and it works a lot better. it's essentially a de-evolution into evolution. So on this, or inside of it, I have a Sharps Reliable bolt in here with a JP gas ring. The reason I went with the JP gas ring is because it is a better sealing gas ring. I have less gas issues. I actually can change my setting and run it one setting lower and still get reliable feeds. And I can even run it 2 settings lower and still get good function. So that great. I'm sorry for the camera shaking. I'm gonna have to fix this somehow with like wire or something. It's shitty. On it, I have a V7 ejection port cover that is painted in aluminum hide, which I was just testing to see how well the aluminum hide actually handles the impacting of the bolt, slamming it open all the time. Then I have a V7 ejection port pin piece that I had to sand to get it around this on the Geisley anti-rotation tab because it doesn't fit normally. A lot of stuff's hand fitting. I have a 50-degree Q lever from Q-shaped lever, not from Q, from Ford Controls Design. Same thing with this Ford Assist and the magazine release. The reason I went with that is because they're all one piece, less failure points. This is also their enhanced magazine release on the other side, which is a better, more square latch. It fits into the magazines a lot better. It's a lot solid. You don't have as much magazine wobble. I'm not going to show that because I don't have any empty magazines here, but all this stuff is a lot more robust in my opinion, and it's all machined from one piece, less failure points. If this Ford Assist fails, right, people talk about whether it's needed or not. I've had times where it's just barely gone out of battery, and instead of putting my finger in like a dirty gunky gun or like getting my gloves all gunked up and have a slippery thumb, right, instead of doing that, I can just press this. It doesn't weigh that much, it's not that big of a deal, but it keeps my thumb clean, and it's my selector thumb that you normally use. Like, you put your thumb in this shit, especially when you have a suppressor, that shit's toxic as hell, and it will soak through the glove and get in your thumb. I'm not trying to have a big fucking thumb cancer piece of shit. Fuck that. So if these fail, there's the reason I went with Ford Assist, is because if they fail, it allows you to not have a fucked up Ford Assist fail. Because when it fails, it stops the bolt from going to the rearward. Most of the time, it takes a big chunk of steel, beds it into aluminum, creates a bulge somewhere along here or back in here, beds it in aluminum, and it gets caught along the bolt. Probably one of the reasons Stoner didn't like them. I don't mind them. But yeah, I have a charging handle from PRI. It is a single side combat lash, I think, the extended one. The reason I'm going with that is because it vents both top of the gas and bottom of the gas out to the right. I had the Armageddon previously. The latch retaining screws actually work themselves out, which is one of the key reasons I liked it, but I was also abusing it pretty hard. I didn't like how that could be abused. So this one has a pin, which you would think is weaker, but when you pull the latch back, it engages up against a flat surface, so the pin becomes the second pivot point at that point. The tip or the whole piece flushes up against 2 flat pieces, and that pin, which is oversized, works a lot better. It also can't walk out because it's inside the gun for all of its rotational needs. It can't walk out like the Silencer Co. one. But all Ford Assist. I have a LaRue trigger. Went from a Geisley to LaRue because I have faster splits with the LaRue, just because due to travel shit. It works great still. Wilson Combat anti-walk pins. They still rotate. They still have grooves. They still work fine. The Geisley pins that I used previously walk out. Not a fan of them. They sent me new ones. They don't look the same. The new ones I got versus the ones I've been using don't look the same. I'm using ALG pins anyways, which is the same company, just with 3 grooves. They're not really worth it. I'd rather just buy these because this is the same style. It's a solid piece minus the sections for the screw to go in on the one side, so it still works the same. It's a lot better metal. Multiple people use this. It's a sub brand, CMC works great too, but I prefer these just because, one, they're a little bit smoother, they're solid, more of it is solid rather than CMC, which is a tube with threads inside of it. So yeah, I have JP oversized pins, and yeah, the lower receiver has a HRF mag well that I stippled a little bit, not for my hand. I don't put my hand back here, but if I go up against a barrier on here, this bites into the wood a little bit better if it's soft enough wood. B5 grip, also stippled. I don't like having the back slick. I want my hands to get eat up when I'm shooting because my hands get sweaty. I live in Texas. Shit gets hot. Yeah, Badger Ordnance scope rings, 35 millimeters, 1.7 height. My preferred height. I don't like going higher. I don't like going 154. I don't mind, but anything from 154, 170, that's my preferred for scopes. Defender caps. Underneath this defender cap is a ARD from Armament Technologies, I think. The same people who make the one for the ACOG. This is a Marine Corps contract bid scope, so it is a US made variant of the 1-10, not Japanese made. You can see it on the bottom, but it was part of the initial drop for the bids for the thing. So this is this has been used before I got it by Marines, so raw. But yeah, it came pretty much unmolested. It came with scope caps, ARD, all that shit. It didn't come with rings, and I taped over all the scope just to get rid of. I don't like how shiny it is. I don't like the bronze shininess. But so I got that. I have on here. I have the extended battery cap, but I forget who makes it. Some cool people make it. I don't remember their names. They make some cool stuff. They do slide cutting. I can't remember who does it. It's one of the smaller people who does slide cutting. They also make these. Sorry, I can't remember their name. This is dummy corded as well. So it's not dummy corded for any other reason than to make sure it stays on the gun, because these brush up against kit, and if I torque them down too much more or Loctite them on, I can't remove it. I need to be able to remove it if I need to without having to crank on shit and making a bunch of noise. So can't Loctite them on. I can't torque them more because then it starts canting the scope. That doesn't work because obviously I need the scope to be level. So this is dummy corded on, and I just check the torques. I have little marks right here in yellow paint, so I just make sure they're torqued down. I can visually inspect it. Worked great. I have little bands all around here to put vegetation on the gun. Forgot to mention that. If I need to veg up the gun a little bit, it works great. I have a Aimpoint Pro on the top on the Badger Ordnance mount for the Aimpoint T2. I am going to go to a T2. All this stuff transfers over to T2. This doesn't have the night vision performance I like, which is a problem when it is my night vision optic. I don't use night vision for anything other than this. This is all this gets used for, is night vision. That's all this is for. It's not meant for anything else. It's not a secondary optic. If like the shit goes down realistically, I'm not going to use it. If I have to, I will, but I'd rather just flip this up, center it inside the scope, and shoot it. As long as the planes on the scope are messed up, I can usually correct on the wing pretty well. It has ARD as well, which is made by the same people, Armament Technologies, but Armament Technologies doesn't sell it. They sell it through Aimpoint, so you have to buy it through Aimpoint, which is kind of whack. Just regular Aimpoint rear, like dust cover, scope cap piece, or lens cover, or whatever. Yeah. Oh yeah, a Vortex throw lever that I've chopped down and sanded down and repainted to get it low, so that way, one, I can get it closer to the rail, it doesn't stick out, it's flush, it doesn't get caught on kit, and if kit bumps up against it, it keeps it on 1x, or if I'm up here, it's not going to start fucking shit up. It's going to keep it at the top end of the magnification, because I generally am not using from 2 to 5. I don't use, and that's all. This is 2, 3, 4, and then that's 5. So 6 is where I start. So everything from there to there is all that's used, and right here gets used. This is a Vortex 1 to 10 military one. I don't remember how much I went into it, but just regular mil one, mil rad scope. But it's the Marine Corps variant. Got a Christmas tree. Very nice scope. I like it. It's just the failed Marine Corps dead. So same thing with this failed Marine Corps contract style one. That's the whole reason these tan ones came out, and that's one of the ones for these two, is it was a Marine Corps bid contract as well. So I do use a bad lever. Reddit people would hate me for a few things, but I don't. Bad lever's not an issue. If you ND with a bad lever, you are the problem, right? So let's go over how it works. If you ND with a bad lever, right, it's right here. You have to bend your finger and pull the trigger. It's a lever. You drag your finger down where you push your finger up. That's why there's serrations right here on the top and bottom. I don't understand. Like, how do you flip that up? There are people on Reddit, whatever. I'm banned from Reddit, so mod people didn't like me saying stuff, and there's a picture of a naked dude in front of a children, and I was talking about he doesn't need to have oxygen, but whatever. That got me banned, and I don't want to be on a place that bans people for that type of language or that type of thoughts, because that's all reasonable thinking. But yeah, I have a UBR2 or UBR Gen 2 from Magpul with a trimmed to fit butt pad from Limb Saver. I didn't get this because the 223 recoil, 556 recoil is bad. I got this one because it's really grippy. It's like B5 stocks. It's grippy. It holds the stock in my shoulder really well. It drags my shirt, which is what I want. I want it to cup in there. I can also roll it around my body armor. My body armor crushes it in this way, holds it onto me really well. It sticks. It just stays where I want it. I get really good stock placement, which is good. But it does make it feel a little bit lighter, which I guess is a bonus. I just took gear aid tape and made a cheek riser. It doesn't affect me doing any sort of adjustments. I can really pull it and get it to go out far, but I don't need any more adjustment than that. Like that's pretty fucking long. It's like M16 long. So this is normally where I keep it at, so it works great. I have another Ranger bands in here to add tension to this front little piece, just so it wants to stay in place a little bit better. I found that it would get caught on my map pocket on my Haley Strategic heavy rig, chest rig thing. It would get caught on there when the sling would pull it, or if I leaned forward, the rifle would cant like this, and it would get caught and sometimes lengthen the stock a little bit. Now to my favorite sling. It is a Arbor Arm sling. Shit, where's their tag? I don't know. But Arbor Arms dual adjust PRS sling. So when it says dual adjust, you have adjustment there. You also have adjustment there, so I can cinch it down to my back, climb ladders, do really administrative stuff, and my rifle cannot come off my body. It also has 1-inch buckles. I have this one tied down because it's a free flopping one, and it worked great. But this allows me to triangulate. I can clip this onto my belt, and it holds on, cinch it down, and I can use this forward tension from the sling, put this on the forward side of a barrier, tension the rifle back into it using the belt, and create a nice little triangle of tension. And I can make it as wide as possible. I can move the buckle anywhere I want. Works great. It is my favorite sling. I just got green and tan hardware because my other one was being weird with NIR, and I don't know if this one's weird with an IR either, but if it is, I'm still going to use it because end of the day, it makes me a better shooter in more weird positions. I was able to hit like 600-ish yards, 700-ish yards. I didn't really have the thing to laser it, but I was able to hit that in the fetal position using this cinched around my knees essentially, and just kicking my chest back to add further tension, and the gun just holds really well. That's the other thing about this. This gun's like a sub-MOA gun all the time. Now, am I the best shooter all the time? No. But at 100 yards at an indoor range, the thing prints very, very close bullets. Like usually well within an inch. It is a very good gun. When you have outdoor stuff, it usually opens up a little bit, but that's on me in the wind. So I love this thing. I also have some little rip band or rip cord style bungee, which is fine. I love this stuff. It's from this. I just add there to kind of add jute, kind of break it up, kind of split this little ARD thing. So that way when you look at it's just hanging there. Yeah, that works great too. Did I miss anything? Oh yeah, I have a H0 buffer, AH0 A5 buffer. I'm using an A5 recoil system, Tubbs flat wire rifle spring, which is great. It's meant for like M16s and stuff, but it adds a lot more forward tension. It holds the bolt closed longer. This gun's not gassy, even suppressed. It works great in a lot of environments. Very hard to use. Those springs also don't, they haven't figured out their failure rate yet, and they're well above 100,000 rounds. So Tubbs springs are great. They do flake. The coating on them flakes, and you do have to keep them greased just for their longevity reasons, because if you let it rust, the spring sucks. And that goes for any springs. Chrome springs don't really rust as much, but they still have, I call it pimple rust, but it's where spot rust and stuff. And if you ignore that long enough, they do fail too. So you have to keep it lubricated anyways. That's what I made this shit for. That goes in my buffer tube now, and it works great. The whole gun works great. Yeah. The rifle speed gas block comes with a really beefy, enhanced gas tube, and that gas tube doesn't fail. It's also a straight gas tube, so you don't have restrictive friction inside of it, which is a lot better for the gas system. It allows for less gas to cycle the gun. It allows for less heat to be transferred into the gas tube. It's a better design. I don't know why we don't do that. I don't know why they're angled, but whatever. I guess it's a weight thing on the gas block, but whatever. I wish they were all straight, because that's way better of a that's just way better of a design in my opinion. It's all the micro shit adds up into big changes. So this is a very manageable gun. I can hold it pretty well. Everything goes really well with it. Trying to see if I missed anything. I don't think I missed anything. But yeah, I love this gun. I have all the tools that I need to in the stock to mess with it. Extra batteries. It has 5 batteries on board of the 2032s. I also have the same larger cap on here too for the batteries. So there's 2 batteries per cap. Some of them, there's some battery caps that are like that. I think the Knights that double the battery life or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but I heard that somewhere, probably read it, so it may not be true. I also prefer this style of Geysir rail because I call it quad block because it's a lot more rigid. It also weighs less than the Mark 16 rail, or the one that's a tube. It's just a tube with flat M-lock sections all around it. You have more places to put shit, but it's heavier by like 3 or 4 ounces, and it's less rigid. It bends. Like I can bend it with my hand like this. Like, it's pretty hard to bend. The barrel's bending before the rail, which is good. Also the whole barrel is like an enhanced barrel. It's 0.75 pretty much through the whole area, except for the chamber is a little bit longer and thicker. So the chamber comes out. The chamber taper ends right about right there. And that's where the quarter inch or 3/4 starts, and the rest of it's 3/4 except for the shoulder for the gaff block. That worked great. So yeah, this is my rifle, this is my gun, all that shit. I also took some shit. If you were wondering why this is like that, I took some shit to it. I took the little heat thing to serrate it, just so it, one, doesn't catch the light uniformly and create a circle. Circles are very eye-catching in nature, so it breaks it up a little bit better with light. I did the same thing with the aim point, but yeah, don't know how long this video is going to be, but whatever. Everything is witness marked too. I'm pretty big on witness marking. The scope even has sections to where I can remount it. The scope, or the Badger Ordnance C.O.M.M mounts, do retain 0. I can take the scope off. I've done it a bunch, and I go and shoot. Still sub them away all day. Oh, also aim point, or not aim point, Magpul Pro rear sight. It's just it's meant to be there for a backup. It's not meant to be no like big fancy, like I can hit 500 yards with it, because realistically I'm going to be shooting like 300 yards with the iron sights. If anything past that, I'm not going to be accurate enough to be doing anything that's precision. It would be volume of fire type thing, area target type thing. Is it possible? Yes. Do we want to do it? No. That's the point of the scope. So yeah. Just like a old. This is one of my original lowers. I think I got this when I was a youngin', quite a long time ago, and it works pretty well. It's in spec. It's a Colt Zero plant, or a Colt lower, Colt forge, that was made for Matrix Aerospace. Very tightly toleranced lower, very quality. Back when Colt was Colt and not shitty Colt. I like it. It works great. It also has a polymer guard for the trigger guard. Yep. Oh, I also modified the feed lamps. The feed ramps aren't M4 feed ramps. They're chamfered and they're smoother. It helps with feeding. I did it to my 300 blackout, and I did it to this one just for feeding issues with specifically the larger or more bull nose style, like 5.56 bullets. The end section, the flat, they're a little bit flatter. They were getting caught on the squared off edges of the aluminum side, so the Sons of Liberty side of the feed ramps, which, if you don't know, it's a circle, and then there's a little section of the feed ramps that's aluminum, right? And that's where the Sons of Liberty side is, and that was a little bit too square and thickens to fully go. As long as you don't modify the very tip of the feed ramps, you shouldn't have any feeding issue. But if you just take a fuck ton of material off and make them go from here to here, you're gonna have issues. But if you just take off a little bit of this inner edge and curve it and make it all smooth, you don't have any issues. So that was a feeding issue initially, and that's just a barrel and upper receiver piece. Tri-Arc and Sons of Liberty aren't really working together, so that's not meant to be a big thing. But also these are both lightweight, lower and upper receiver. They're mil spec, but they're not like thick and dickens like the KE Arms is one that comes to mind. Their stuff, their mil spec stuff, is heavier than like this, like side by side. Sons of Liberty thermal fit upper is lighter than a KE Arms upper, mil spec upper that's also thermal fit. Same thing with this lower one slider. Like this with the charging handle felt around the same weight as that without a charging handle. Yeah. Oh, also these are these defender caps, so they don't walk off and they hold on to the diopter ring. They are zip tied, but not super tight to fuck up the scope, because if you have too much tension. The front one doesn't really come off because it's got the ARD on it, and that's really holding, but there's a Ranger band in here just to hold the extra tension. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. Hopefully this was entertaining enough. This is my kind of improved M4 concept. But yeah, appreciate it.